Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 13 of Two Minds, One Podcast. I'm Nathan.
Raymond.
And before we get started today, guys, I just want to give a quick shout out. If you're listening to us audio only, you can find our Apple Podcast linked in the description below. Raymond, you said you had something you want to get started with today?
I just wanted to talk about the economy today, man.
The economy.
It's crazy.
Let me put on my typewriter, my little green hat. Okay, what were we talking about today?
You're talking about like the mask.
Finances.
That's
The
finances,
mask.
man.
Yeah,
the
finances,
mask. That
the
was
mask.
funny, right?
Yeah. For those of you who haven't seen The Mask with Jim Carrey, highly recommend. Fantastic movie.
Yeah. No, I just want to talk about these prices are insane, dude.
You want to talk about how
gas prices here in California? I don't know how they are in other states, but I'm sure they're cheaper. I remember when we went to Glacier. And
went to Montana.
I talked to this lady, and it was East Glacier Village, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, "Yeah, these gas prices are crazy." I'm like, "Yeah, they're cheap." And she goes, "What? They're expensive?" And I said, "What? Where are you from?" She goes, "I'm from South Carolina." I said, "Oh, that explains that." I was like, "What kind of gas price?" She goes, "Oh, we got like $2.90." I'm like, "Dang, I'm in California." She goes, "Oh." She was. I was like, "Yeah, I got like 5 something."
I got 5 whole bones.
The gas station around my house, $6, $5.99.
Yeah, I never put gas
for
by your
91.
house.
That thing is a highway robbery.
Highway robbery, indeed.
That's insane.
I did notice that we had a gas dip. So early/mid 2022, we had kind of like a gas price hike. Right?
Yeah,
when we
was bad.
saw
It was like $7 around here.
We were getting around some areas were getting $7, $8, and like
there was one gas station in LA County. It was like in the desert area at $10.
Yeah,
a $10 a gallon.
And then we dropped down to a more reasonable $4, $3.89.
Yeah, it was like June of this year. I remember right before we went to Glacier, Montana.
Like, yeah, I'd say March to June-ish area,
Yeah.
sometime around there. We dropped down to more reasonable, where gas prices weren't as intolerable, but
now they have spiked up again.
They spiked up again, and I don't know why. As in the correlation to.
I mean, the cost of barrel didn't go up of oil, did it?
I have no idea, but I do know that. Looking at the stock market and I believe it's called the yield curve of the economy. The yield curve is essentially how much profit a thing's yielding, right? If I remember correctly. I want to fact check that. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
So when the yield curve dips, right, historically, when the yield curve dips, it usually signals a recession that is oncoming, right? And so
we knew that was happening, though. I mean, with the Feds.
But wait, there's more. There's more. Unfortunately, it's not good news. Every single time the yield curve has dipped, it's always been followed by a recession. Historically speaking, you can take this back all the way to the 1920s, right? Mm-hmm. Including the Great Depression, right? Including the 2008 stock market crash, including the 70s, by the way. Crazy time to be alive. Had like 3 crashes. It was like oil embargo. Then it was like Vietnam. Then it was like something else. And it was just like, it dipped, it rose back up, and then it dipped, and then it rose back up.
But wasn't it also in the 70s when they spiked the interest rate, no?
To like yes.
20% or something like that.
It's the U.S. Treasury's yield curve.
Yeah.
That's what it is, right?
Okay.
So when the U.S. Treasury's yield curve dips, it usually signals a recession happening, specifically speaking for the United States, right? And in 2008, right, the last large historical crash we had, right? We had the yield curve dip in about mid 2006, and it wasn't until about 15 months later that we saw, 2008, the stock market dump down and drop into a recession, right? And so currently, the yield curve has dipped, right? And
But what causes the dip?
I can't tell you. Probably higher interest rates, other things of that nature, the economy in general. But yield curve dipped, and the stock market has still seemed high. It's been rallying. Similar scenario that happened in 2006. It's like a
it's a cat bounce.
It's an indicator of what's going to happen.
It's a dead cat bounce.
And so,
what we're seeing in the stock market right now.
what's that?
So I watched Clear Value Tax. I forgot his name. The guy talks about it. He mentioned it at the end of last year, beginning of this year, when the stock market started going down, right, from the all-time high.
Yeah,
Bitcoin crashing, right? All of that.
It's been moving back up.
He said that. He said we're gonna have, as the interest rates. He predicted from his research that as the Feds raise interest rate and stuff, that the stock market is gonna have rallies or the dead cat bounce is what he called it. So like,
where's the analogy come from?
From a dead cat. When it falls and hits the ground and dies, the body hits but bounces, like, right? And so he's saying that you'll see that the curve spike come down, but every time it comes down a little lower, and it does not spike
to the same high.
Essentially, it's a downward spike.
Yeah.
Right. And then eventually you get the severe one. The same thing happened in 2008. He mentioned he goes up. A little bit lower, not as high, and then like a couple ones down, then you get the severe, the big one, yeah.
So that's something that is going to be interesting to see. We're about 12 months in from when the dividend yield curve dipped down to the negative, and we still haven't seen the effects of that yet. So it's going to be a delayed onset, kind of like 2008. But there's also speculation that it won't be as bad as the recession in 2008, because the recession in 2008 was a perfect storm of perfect storms, right?
Yeah, one thing caused another thing to crash to cause another thing to crash. Yeah,
right.
It was a domino effect that went severe.
And another reason that they said that we hadn't seen the recession happened yet is because heading into 2022 from 2021, there was like, I believe the saying was like 1 billion in savings for consumers, right? And that's what's been keeping the economy floating as normal, and not like if this was a recession where people don't spend money and they kind of like, save.
No, I mean, I see now. I see people not spend money. They're not. See it. I've had trouble renting the small trailers, little pickup ones. People aren't spending on that, going out, because that's more of a splurge expense, right? You have a toy when you want to go to the desert, right? And I've been having less people, right? And how do you call it? So it's basically only been people who have the necessity and they need to move things, right? Throwing away trash, something like that.
Yeah,
not just
utility. Not a service for fun.
Not a luxury.
Yeah.
It's crazy though, because I have noticed too when we go get groceries and stuff, and it's I would say every grocery minimum is now at $100 plus.
Really?
Yeah. And that's just 3 of us. Yeah, I think if we didn't go to Costco and bulk up for a long time.
See, every time you go to Costco, it's $100 plus.
No, every time we go to Costco, it's $200 plus.
Yeah,
but the Costco lasts like 2 months. The meat and all that we buy, goes about 2 months. Right, and if we go to a Stater Brothers or a Walmart, right,
you're buying significantly smaller quantities.
Yeah,
so
it doesn't last as long, and it costs more money in the long term. Because we have to go every week or every 2 weeks.
This is true.
Right? So it's 200 something for 2 months versus 200, 400, right? 200 every month. So, yeah, I've just been noticing that it's crazy because I know there's some people struggling really bad.
But yeah, there's always somebody struggling really bad though.
Yeah.
Like since the dawn of time.
No.
It's not like anything new.
Obviously. It's not what I mean.
I know it's not what you mean.
You know, I mean, like people that weren't struggling before.
Yes.
It's more in California, because here in California, if you're single and you make minimum, which I think is like
minimum wage $15.
Yeah, but how much is it annually?
It's like $24,000 or something like that.
Right? It's like 24. Let's do the math real quick.
It doesn't matter.
There's no calculator.
It doesn't matter.
But yeah, 30. If you're making 30K to 50K, you're not buying a home. Even at 50K, you're renting a room.
Yeah, you're not buying a home, but
you're not even renting an apartment.
It's been like that for a while now. Even back in 2008, minimum wage is $8.50.
No, we know if minimum wage never keeps up.
But not anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't keep up anymore. But what I'm saying is now it's worse this time around, just like it was in 2008. Right? The people that were just barely making it.
So I read this interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I read this quote. It's by an old man. Can't remember the name of the guy. But he said, "Everyone says this times are nigh. Everyone says the world's gonna end. Everyone says this is. Everyone says things
I've heard that one.
Were better when I was young, or things
things
are not as they used to, and they were better when they were, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm not saying that that's what it is. Like, damn, times were better.
No, but like it's really easy to fall into that.
Yeah.
That trap of ideology of like, oh, things were so much better in the 90s.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm not trying to say that.
Right. Or things were so much better in the 50s or the 60s or 70s.
Yeah, times were different then.
Times were different. Different things.
Different technology. Like, it's completely different. The technology we have nowadays compared to then.
The world was different.
The amount of, the world in a whole was different. So much more opportunities to find new things. Right?
There's still new things.
Yeah. But you know what I'm saying. We were still discovering a lot of the world in back. But
you're still making it sound like back then was easier.
No, I'm not saying back then.
It's always hard.
It's still hard.
It's just different. It's just different kind of hard. It's a different kind of hard.
The hard just shifts from one, maybe like a sector or to another, but it's still hard overall. It's not easy to find new things. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's not what I'm saying.
I just want to clarify that.
I'm saying like things that would be labor was hard back then.
Well, labor is still hard.
You know what I mean?
But yes.
But it was more labor intensive work versus nowadays.
There's more labor intensive jobs.
Yeah.
More factory work.
Yeah. It changes, right? But it's still hard. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, what I was trying to get at was, what do you think? So the Feds are raising interest rates to bring down inflation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
To battle inflation.
To battle inflation. Well, to bring it down. And then also, okay, to lay people off.
To lay people off.
Yes, they want unemployment to go up to 4%.
Why?
Because if people are laid off, more people are unemployed, less people will spend money, so there's less demand for things. So then the supply side, the equation of demand versus supply will equalize a little bit and lower inflation. Okay, but that's tackling the demand side. Why don't they tackle? I'm not sure. Why would you want to hurt the people when you can tackle the supply side and make it easier to
hear me out,
meet the demand in a sense?
Hear me out,
right? Mm-hmm.
Our brains inherently go towards solutions that add things. Right? Add more supply to fix the demand. Add more horsepower to make a car faster.
Okay.
Add more this to do that. You want to make something tastier? Add some MSG, add some more butter. Right? It's easy.
Yeah.
That is easy. Subtractive thinking is hard. And subtractive problem solving is hard.
True.
Right? And so I think in this case, not saying I'm defending the government, but I'm saying this case, I think the ideology is it's easier, it's better and more beneficial to do the subtractive approach to solving the problem instead of the additive approach. Because when you look at it, what got them into the problem they're currently in? Being very reckless with their money. And I get it. The consumer and the general public shouldn't have to pay to fix the government's mistakes, right?
Mm-hmm. But that's not.
But unfortunately, we always pay.
I understand that, and I understand the negative. This specific case though is a little different because shipping around the world, the supply, okay.
You can make the argument for every case is different though.
Yes. Okay. This time they had the option to help supply because it hasn't reached back to pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Right. We took a shipping system globally that's been running, right? Nonstop for years, decades, right? And then we shut it down completely, worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
And then
just expect it to start back up again.
And then just expect it hasn't even caught up to pre-pandemic levels as of right now.
I know.
Right? That's what I'm getting at. I'm not saying that they shouldn't, the unemployment thing, we should, but I think we should do a little bit of both so it's not so bad.
I mean, yeah.
Because I feel in my brain, if you only focus on let's lower unemployment or let's raise unemployment, my bad, right? I said it wrong. Let's raise unemployment only and you don't tackle the other side, I feel like you're going to overshoot the target. Because it's the way they do it is a reaction. So it's like we do something, right? And then we see what happens with that. What happens to the economy? Do people get fired? Do people not get fired, right? And then do it again. Do another decision, right? On what to do. Raise interest rates, lower interest rates, stay steady. But the problem with that is it takes months, possibly a year or two, to see the full effect.
Yeah.
Especially if we had so many people with savings, $1 billion in savings, people are going to use that till they run out.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to see the true effect of what you're doing for a while. So let's say they want 4%, right? Okay. We're pretty close to 4% right now. I think what's the unemployment at? 2 something? Almost 3?
I think it's almost 3.
Right? I think it was almost 3 if I saw.
There you go.
You got it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
3.5.
3.5. Currently?
Last month.
Okay. Right? So we're not at 4. But what happens when, let's say we get to 4, right? They stop raising interest rates. But then all of a sudden we go to 5. And then 6. Right?
Okay, I get overshot. I get what you're saying, but the same argument that you're saying can be applied to your same.
Yeah, but in oversupply, what would happen?
You're wasting money.
No. In oversupply, what would happen to prices and other
demands? Things are going to go down.
So what would happen to inflation?
The economy is going to go down.
And inflation would go down. We would get
But deflation. I don't think it's that simple.
No, I understand that these concepts of lowering inflation, they're not that simple. They're complicated of you do this moves, right? Yeah. It's like
it's very much you change one thing and it changes 5 other things. Yes.
Yes.
Very much
so it reminds me of like when you do an alignment on a car, right? When you touch, you have to do it in a certain order, and even if you do it in that order, when you touch toe or you touch camber or caster, it'll move something else.
Yeah, because it's all connected.
Exactly.
Yes, I get it. I get that.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's why I said I feel like they should attack all fronts.
But I feel like you can't expect that level of mobilization. Because then you run into You change too many things, you don't know what's the thing that fixed it.
Yes, I agree.
Right? So when you're trying to solve a problem, for example, you're troubleshooting something, and you have 5 things that you can change, and you change something in each 5 of them, and then the problem still doesn't work, and you go do that again, you're shooting yourself in the foot because you don't know what's affecting what. Like, I don't know if changing, this wire affects that wire, or if I don't know if this changing this.
I think the big thing is they did it too fast.
Did what too fast?
Raise interest. They've
been raising
5,
interest.
no, but they raised 5 basis points in a year.
Well, they had to.
Yeah.
They had to, based off of how long they let inflation run rampant and how much money was printed during the pandemic era.
Mm-hmm.
It was a requirement. It needed to happen. Like, this fucking world is built on debt.
No,
you know who started the debt?
Who?
It's a guy on a $10 bill.
Oh yeah. Took us.
He's the one who informed the U.S. Treasury, well, debt is a bad thing, but debt is also a good thing.
That's a bad thing for people who don't control the money.
Exactly. Exactly.
For anybody in government or anybody up that high, debt doesn't matter.
You can take a loan, and as long as you pay it off, you're okay.
Yeah.
And so
it's
an interesting time to be alive. I saw this meme.
Was this the second economic thing that we've lived through?
Third. So I saw this meme. Third. Hear me out. So
what's the first one?
I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Within our lifetime. Okay.
Right? So I said a millennial. It showed a millennial, and then it showed when it showed the coming recession, right? The third giant once in a lifetime economic downturn, right? And it says millennials smoking cigarettes, saying I've been here twice before, right? So millennials survived the .com bubble crash.
Oh, in early 2000s.
Early 2000s.
I forgot about that one.
He survived the 2008 crash.
Yeah.
And this one.
The 2008 one was pretty bad. A lot of people. I remember a lot of people coming out of
college.
That
is the second worst financial recession in the United States history. You are still feeling the effects of that recession to this day. With the I can't get a job, but I need experience. But I have no experience, so I can't get a job. And I got a job, so I can't get experience. And I have no experience, so I can't get a job. To get a job, I need experience. Yeah, it's a really funny circle.
Yeah. So what did the Lehman Brothers do? That's not the one with Bernie Madoff, right?
What? I have no idea what you're talking about right now.
So Lehman Brothers started the 2008 because they
subprime mortgage loans.
Was it?
I don't know what you're talking about, dude.
The 2008 crash.
What about it?
It was the Lehman Brothers that started it.
How did two brothers start
No, Lehman Brothers was a company.
Okay, how do they
called Lehman Brothers? Okay, here we go. Lehman Brothers was an American global financial service firm founded in 1847.
Okay.
Before filing for bankruptcy in 2008, the Lehman Brothers was the 4th largest investment bank in the U.S., behind Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley. And Merrill Lynch.
Merrill Lynch, dude. Warren Buffett.
With about 25,000 employees in the world, el mundo, right? It was doing business in investment banking, equity. Yeah.
Okay, but get to the point.
In September 2018, they filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection following the exodus of most of its clients, drastic decline in the stock market price. The devaluation of assets by trading agency collapse was largely due to Lehman's involvement in subprime mortgage crisis. Yes.
So they were over leveraged in subprime mortgage loans.
Yeah.
And as such, they lost a bunch of money, so they lost all their
their
investors.
Yes, which then brought to light the Bernie Madoff scheme.
I don't know idea what that is.
Yeah, you do. The largest Ponzi scheme that happened. Right before FTX, because he ended up turning that into a Ponzi scheme too.
Dude, I told you those cryptocurrencies were fucking Ponzi schemes.
Bro.
NFTs, crypto. A lot of the cryptos were.
Well, the
It's very-
crypto, it wasn't the
so,
crypto, it was
hear me
the
out.
company
No,
that he
hear me
turned
out.
into a
Hear me
Ponzi
out.
scheme.
It followed the same thing as when the
Here.
2001 .com bubble crash. A lot of companies claim to be profitable in the website because this new big and cool thing, and then turns out crazy they're not. And crazy these kids don't know how to run a company. Wow, I wouldn't have guessed it. You know,
Yeah.
Bill Gates was lucky and very intelligent that he didn't run his company like these other children.
Here. So, he was the largest Ponzi scheme.
Was. So FTX.
He was until FTX because he ended up turning.
Dude, FTX
He
was
started
crazy.
not as a Ponzi scheme. He ended up turning his thing into it because he started using money, their customer funds, to do things that he should not have been doing.
I remember now.
Okay, Bernie Madoff was doing an investment, always getting 10% plus returns.
Yes.
Forever. He did it for. It was a Netflix. They showed it. They had a
Yes.
Netflix thing for an eternity.
He did it for like 23 years.
He did it his entire career. And the only reason he ended up getting caught was because of the Lehman Brothers taking the market down, which everything went down.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody wanted their money out.
Mm-hmm. Everyone wanted to get paid out.
And it was fucked. He couldn't get any more money, investors to bring in
Well, yeah.
to pay out the old investors.
Mm-hmm.
There's people that invested with him,
That were
lived their retirement, and died
Mm-hmm.
with Bernie Madoff, paying some retirement from other people and other people's money. It was insane. $64.8 billion Ponzi scheme.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. That was like, it was like a chain. That was like putting gasoline, putting acetone on the fire of
Yeah.
Lehman Brothers.
And then all the foreclosures on the
Oh yeah.
housing market as well.
Oh yeah.
You know they're giving out subprime auto loans now?
Yeah.
You get like a 3.6% interest rate for like your first year, and then it jumps up to like 8.
A variable.
Yeah.
Well, subprime doesn't mean variable. Specifically, subprime means that they're subprime, like their
They're
credit
low
rating,
tier.
they're low tier, like
Okay, but
less,
who
more
needs-
likely.
Who they gonna offer that?
Yeah, more
to?
likely.
They're gonna offer that to a
not
person
pay.
with 800 credit?
No. What
They're
I'm
gonna offer that to
saying, right?
someone with
But what I'm
750
saying is,
credit? No, they're gonna offer it to someone with 500.
they have zero verification of income, stuff like that. That's what makes them subprime.
I just bought a car recently. They didn't verify my income. They just asked me where I worked.
Subprime. You're gonna pay it off, so it's not a problem.
Not
But
a
technically, that falls under the subprime because they did not verify your income. They
Mhm.
didn't verify anything. No bank statements, no check stubs, nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Subprime. But you didn't get a variable. You got a fixed
I have
interest.
fixed interest
Yeah.
rate, yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. The crash was the big thing to the name was variable home mortgages, and people weren't taught what that is.
Yeah.
And then subprime.
Yo, and then they were over leveraging the mortgage industry.
Mm-hmm.
They were buying these bonds like left and right because they were like, oh, the housing market has only ever gone up. It's impossible for it to fail. It's too large to fail. This, and that. And their hubris came and bit them in the ass. Yeah. For those of you that haven't seen what is it? Not The Big Short. It's The Big Short. If you haven't seen The Big Short, it's great. Great film. But, yeah, the 2008 was crazy. You still feel the ramifications today. People's livelihoods were gone. Entire retirement funds vanished. Pensions, gone.
Gone. But so I correct myself. FTX did not beat them. There is only an estimated 8 billion.
Still, only 8 billion.
Only 8 billion.
FTX was insane though because they had so many
institutions
and so many large like celebrities endorsing them. They had a stadium.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They have a lot.
It was crazy. And they had these super geniuses running the company.
Yeah.
Off the what was it? It was off of not the Cayman Islands.
Bahamas.
Right, where taxes
they
were
based
a little,
in the Bahamas. Yeah.
a little woo-woo. They're a little woo-woo. Really interesting to see. Yeah. FTX scandal is insane. All of the NFTs were pretty much just Ponzi schemes. You don't see NFTs anymore here.
No, all NFTs were Ponzi schemes for sure.
I told you guys from the beginning. Why would you pay $200 for a little image on a blockchain that I could take a picture of, and it's the same thing? But hey, for those that got that bag,
oh no, the people
I respect
it. They made
a lot of money, dude.
They made a lot of money.
A lot of money.
But in those situations, a lot of people lost that. In order for them to make that money, a lot of people lost that money.
Yes. But it's also true for any sentiment. In order for any person to make a lot of money, a lot of people need to lose money. And not in the sense of like lose it as in like unrightfully scammed, but as in like part with it.
No. Yes. But if you create value, you're creating a new value to the economy. Fantastic. Nice one. Sorry about that, guys. Anyways,
yeah,
right?
You create value.
You creating value, and so you create like either a new market or a new value into the economy, which brings more value, raises, right? So it creates new money. So the new money that was created found an area to diversify into instead of into inflation or something else.
It's not always created like that. If you're providing value in different sorts of ways, but yeah, I guess ideally that's how it works. Yes. Yeah. It's funny. You think we'd have these economy things figured out by now because we've been doing it since the dawn of time.
You know what I think, honestly?
What?
I think we would. I think we do have it figured out. But I think no, listen. The people who always end up back in charge, it's just too tempting to do a currency and have the infinite
money glitch
of just printing that, because the people under there, all these little sheep, how they might think of us, they're just gonna work and they just slowly get indebted, right? Like tax, right? Inflation is your secret tax, and so they want it at 2%.
Yep.
Right. They don't care. They just want to keep printing that money and then but because at the end of the day, if the two solutions are severely, at the end of the day, when you get to the bottom end of a run of any currency, it's either you crash that economy to full reset,
Venezuela,
right? Or hyperinflation.
Also Venezuela.
But who wins in a hyperinflation environment? The people with the money printer. Own all the assets.
Speaking of money printer, did you know back in like the 90s, before all the securities were established on currency and checks?
Oh, bro, there were giant scams.
There was humongous. There was a little town in Italy
trading,
that made the machines that the U.S. Treasury uses for making print money. And you could buy a machine from them and print your own money, and it was real legal tender.
Really?
If you had the right paper and stuff, because there was no security stamp special sauce that needed to be on there.
Yeah.
Right? And that's how a lot of untraced currency got added into the economy. Yeah. I know there's one man, I forget his name, but he's responsible. He's one of the greatest con artists of all time, and forgers. He forged a bunch of checks, and he would start with the cashier's checks or like pilot checks, right? Like aviation checks and things of that nature. And the FBI caught him, and when they caught him, they pretty much said, "Hey, you got two options. You can either go to jail, or you can help us catch other people like you," and essentially he helped establish many of the modern checks, security items on current checks right now.
You're talking about Frank Borrosa?
Yeah.
Counterfeited and sold.
Yep.
250 million in fake U.S. currency until he was nabbed in an undercover operation.
Yeah.
Now he runs a security company and works with the police to catch other counterfeiters.
Yep.
Yeah. What a time to live in.
Yeah, it's like It's like the government is so picky on who they consider bad. It's funny. It's interesting.
It's more
You counterfeit a bunch of money. It's like, hey, you're doing my scheme too well. You need to stop. And they give you a little slap on the wrist, and they go, "But hey, yo, you wanna get in on the pie?
Yeah, like
You wanna help me? You wanna help me get in on the pie?
You want to
Right? The
I'm gonna bring
NSA
you
does
into
that all
the
the time.
pie. Yeah,
NSA does that all the time. Government agencies do it all the time. All I'm saying, for those Americans that think that we're awesome and that we went to the moon first and this and that, say thank you to all the Nazi German scientists that helped you get to the moon first. That's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say. The U.S. government has always leveraged its power to help it influence itself.
Hey,
which I don't
what
blame
does Alex
it.
Hormozy say?
Hey, use what you got. I don't
Leverage.
hey, leverage is king,
Leverage is king.
right? How you leverage your time, what you do with it, right? It's king. I don't blame them, right? When you're in the race against the commies, you use whatever, reformed Nazis
Whatever you
need.
get. Yeah.
Yeah.
Reformed quotation marks, right?
Reformed. And we say reformed because you never know if a
They're
person's
not
actually
really reformed.
You don't
they
know if
just
a
made a
person's-
deal.
Yeah, you don't know if a person's actually reformed, right?
It's basically this scheme you're doing, only I can do this.
Yeah.
So no.
Exactly.
You need to stop. You need to pay a little fine for it, and then you just come on in. You want to join? You want to help us make it better so less people can do what you did?
Yeah.
Come on, you join in.
Yeah. Yeah, and governments are interesting. I know we're talking a lot of shit on the U.S. government.
I love, and it's not U.S. government specifically. It's government in general. Most of them,
yes.
It's really hard to find. Like, I haven't seen one that isn't doing a currency, and basically all the money coming into existence is debt.
Yeah,
it's not backed by anything. They just poof it into existence, and it's owed instantly. So like the first dollar ever created is owed.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like what?
Mm-hmm. That's why all your dollars eventually had to make themselves back.
That's what we ended up back in the 70s, when 1971, when was it Nixon or who was it? Reagan that took us off. He
removed us from the gold standard.
Yeah.
He paused.
He paused. It's still
paused.
Quotation. Pause.
The U.S. dollar. We're taking a pause from the U.S. dollar being backed by gold.
He basically said, I don't want to give you guys the gold that everyone's asking for.
No, they probably didn't have it.
No, they didn't. But
because they started doing math. They were like, "Hey,
how are you doing these wars?
How do you have so much money if it's all backed by gold?
Then you gotta have all.
You have gold. Like 5 times the world's gold supply.
Yeah,
and I don't believe you, so I'm gonna cash in my
dollars
for gold." And they're like, "Whoa!
We can't be doing that.
You can't do that. Stop right there."
Yeah,
stop right there.
He bit himself. He shot himself in the foot. Reagan did, and then so the only way to get out of it was just pause it, but never unpause it.
Well, yeah, that's the only thing that was left to do. Yeah, but yeah, economies are interesting. I wish they would have taught this more in university or high school. They teach you boring stuff.
When they teach you economics, you think they would teach you something a little more of this sense?
No, they teach you supply and demand.
They teach you supply and demand. They don't teach you currencies and real money.
Yeah,
right?
They teach you currency. They teach you debt.
They teach you debt.
But they don't teach you.
They don't teach you that money is.
They don't teach you the real rules of the game.
Yeah, money is actually something backed by something, and currency is what we have now.
An idea.
It's just something that
because
we work for it, it has value.
We've all agreed upon
its value.
Its value.
Yeah. That's it. It's like in a household, you create your own money. You use monopoly money to buy things with your kids and the parents, right? I want a chocolate bar. Here's $10, Mom. Like it only has value because you guys all agreed to it.
Yes, sir.
That's why, like Alex Hormozy said, bro, it's an infinite game.
It's
not a finite game. It's an infinite game, because even if the U.S. dollar goes into hyperinflation, like Venezuela, right? What's gonna happen? Eventually, it's gonna get so bad they're just gonna be like, we're not gonna use that currency no more.
No, we're gonna take that currency.
Here's a new one, and this new one is worth $10 million of that one.
Mm-hmm. That's what Germany did.
And then
Both World War
ta-da! We're back down to $1 is 10 million old dollars.
But now it's what's $1.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's an interesting game. We'll see how long the spinning wheel can stay spinning. But that's all we have time for today, guys. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, comment,
subscribe.